The outdoor drama Tecumseh became a recent victim to the COVID-19 pandemic here in Southern Ohio. I had a visit with Brandon Smith, the CEO and president of the Scioto Society. We talked about the decision-making process and what's ahead for the outdoor drama. That's coming up in just a moment. This report brought to you by Hometown Motors Incorporated, 818 Eastern Avenue, Chillicothe. The affordable classic rear-engine rider from Snapper has become a lawn mowing icon with its tried-and-true features and easy-to-use design. Available now at Hometown Motors Incorporated, 818 Eastern Avenue, Chillicothe. Joined now by the CEO and producer of Tecumseh, CEO of the Scioto Society, Mr. Brandon Smith. Good to have you with us. And you released some unfortunate news today, the canceling of this season for Tecumseh. And of course, just last week, you had already postponed the performance of The Sound of Music.
Yeah, we've been working on a plan, Dan, as you know, really since about March the 12th, I guess, as we were planning for our annual fundraiser. And news came down from the governor that gatherings of people would need to be postponed for some time. And at that point, we thought we might be looking at a month or two of that. And now it's just obvious that we're going at least until May and possibly further than that. So we've spent a lot of time. We looked at a lot of scenarios, including what might happen if we could open on July the 1st or August the 1st. And do a shortened, truncated season of some sort. And financially, it just didn't work out for any of those other scenarios to happen. The scariest scenario to us was that, putting the show up and getting the theater ready and prepared is a very expensive proposition. And so the scariest thing to us was that we did all that work and invested that money, and then either we weren't able to open when we thought we could, or there's just the reality that people may not have disposable income with which to purchase a theater ticket. And that was kind of the worst case scenario. So removing that and removing opening on the date that we wanted to, which was June the 10th, we knew that those two things could simply not happen. So we went with the not the easiest decision, but the only one which made any sense, both financially and considering the health of our actors in our community. We really just needed to cancel.
I know there's a number of folks that probably are kicking around saying, well, gee, why couldn't they start up in the middle of July or into August and give us at least 1 month? But there is so much preparation that takes place and so many actors you have to get lined up. Of course, you've got how many in this production? I'm going to guess 50 that might find themselves putting their schedules on hold for the summer.
I mean, all told, it takes close to 100 people, actors, technicians, equestrians, box office staff, parking staff, restaurant, etc. So all told, it's close to 100 people. Jeremiah Wagner and myself had just returned from our final audition, which was up in Boston, Massachusetts, the week before all of this kind of came to a head. And so we had pretty much the entire show cast and everybody hired. So that made it an even more difficult proposition to look at cancellation. Not only are we looking at how it affects the company and the community, but also we have 55 actors and artists out there who were dependent on us for their income for the summer, and that's really heartbreaking. There's not a theater anywhere in America that's operating right now, or anywhere in the world really. And I just never imagined a day when there wouldn't be an actor or a theater technician able to find a job anywhere. But that's the reality that we're living in right now, and it's going to be difficult for those folks for quite a while. My heart goes out to them. I think we're going to be okay. We have a hard road ahead of us, but there's a path with which we can get to and get this show back up and on its feet in the next year. So I feel confident. I feel hesitantly confident for us. But my heart really breaks for all of those people.
I'm going to guess that the early portion of this for you, and I saw a Facebook post you made back in the early days of the COVID-19 popping out with concern for people in theater across the board, because it was almost you had a visionary effect as to if we don't come out of this, a lot of these places are going to be closing down and there's going to be a lot of people out of work. Uh, I- you had to take that step last week with The Sound of Music, and it was scheduled to begin at the end of this month and run for a few days in May. And I got to think that that was a early teaser for us and what might happen with Tecumseh.
For sure. Rescheduling that show in many ways was easier than what we've had to do with Tecumseh, but it also presented its own challenges because that's a co-production that we do with Brian Clowdus and his company. So he had a lot of moving parts in that a lot of his actors who come in and do the main roles for him are also working for him in other venues all across America. So he had, I don't know, 15 productions, I think, with which he had to get all the calendars out and place them next to each other and say, okay, when is it possible that we can do this? We looked at possibly trying to squeeze it into set, assuming that Tecumseh would go up at that time, and thought we could squeeze it in between the closing of Tecumseh and the opening of Sleepy Hollow. But that just wasn't feasible. So the easiest thing to do was to drop it into the same dates next year. And I think that's going to be great when it happens. Incidentally, both Brian and myself and lots of other folks have been on conference calls with theaters all over America over the past 2 weeks, including last week. I was on a conference call with, I think, 7 other outdoor dramas, large-scale outdoor dramas like what we do here. I think we're the 3rd theater to announce that we'll be closing for the summer, but I anticipate there will be others in the next couple of weeks. As you mentioned before, just the preparation that goes into getting these theaters ready is enormous, and it takes weeks and weeks to do it and many hundreds of hours of manpower. And as we sit here right now, we've already lost about 3 weeks of preparation time. So, and then the further it goes, horses come in early. We have to train horses. Cannons have to get ready. There's just all of these other things that you may not think about. Our gift shop, gift shop orders were beginning to come in. So there's lots of moving parts to that. And so you look at that June 10th date and you back it up a month when people start arriving. You back it up another month from that when we turn on the water. You back it up another month from that when we start removing leaves. And the simple fact is it just was not going to work.
Talk about the economic impact, because there is a great number of tourism dollars that are pumped into this area, all thanks to Tecumseh and its yearly performances.
According to Americans for the Arts, they have a cool little calculator on their website that you can go in and it will tell you what the economic impact in your community is. And according to them, it's about $2.2 million every summer. That's outside the gates of the theater. So in addition to the money that people are spending on tickets or dinner if they're eating here, backstage tours, souvenirs, they're spending another $2.2 million out in the community on hotel rooms, gas, eating out, shopping in the shops around town, visiting other attractions like Adena. So you multiply that by 47 seasons that we've had. It's a massive economic impact. And really in the early 70s when Tecumseh began, it revolutionized the tourism industry in our area. And in addition to that, the Scioto Society was instrumental in founding the Ross Chillicothe Convention and Visitors Bureau, which has done so much great work over the past 3 decades in getting people to come here and learn about Chillicothe and enjoy our community and our outdoors, their money here. So yes, it's going to have an economic impact on our community beyond the gates of the theater.
Yeah, and of course, there's the emotional side of it too. We have seen and read a lot of comments from people on Facebook just today and learning of the story that everything's been put off for this year. That being said, though, you still are pushing ahead, planning for what October has become with the Haunted Mountain activities going on at the Sugarloaf Mountain Amphitheater.
Yeah, we're full steam ahead on that. Sleepy Hollow this year again will be every weekend in October. I feel like in my gut we'll be clear and ready to go by then. And I also think that people are going to be dying to get out and do anything with other people at that point. So I think October is going to be a great time for us to come together and enjoy each other's company and just celebrate being with one another. You know, one of the great things about theater is that in times of crisis, gathering people together and supporting one another has been so important. I remember I was living in New York City on 9/11, and what I remember about those couple of weeks is just how kind people were to each other and thoughtful. I remember going to church services at St. John the Divine, and just how wonderful it was to be in the company of other people who truly had no other agenda than to be there for one another. We can't do that in this situation, and it's almost unfathomable to think that. But theater has that power to bring people together and to heal and to have a shared experience. And gosh, I can't wait to be able to do that again.
Absolutely. I miss the warm embrace that you get from, just friends close up and just give them a big hug and the whole deal. And especially after a Tecumseh performance, the meet and greet with the actors afterwards. Good golly, how much that meant to people to be able to get a chance to see the actors right up and close.
Absolutely, especially little kids. You see their faces light up when they get to meet Tecumseh or Simon Kenton. It's a special thing, and it's not something that every theater does. And I think actually that's one of the many pieces of the puzzle that have put together the staying power of Tecumseh is that we do allow people to have that emotional connection while they're sitting in the theater, and then to be able to express that to one another afterwards. It's a lovely thing.
You'll keep them wanting to come back for more, right?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, Brandon, certainly our thoughts are with everybody that's a part of what goes on at Sugarloaf Mountain Amphitheater. This is a devastating blow for many of us, but more so for you folks. But you are financially secure enough, I think, that you're going to be able to weather this storm.
There's a road forward, yes, and ultimately, Dan, in addition to the safety of people, which is the ultimate question we had to answer, was how do we preserve the company for the future? And so that was the choice we had to make. Do we push and risk the financial collapse of the organization should no one be able to come to the theater this year, or do we just put everything on hold? It's not financially great for us, but it is a road forward, and thus we will preserve the company for 2021 and hopefully another 50 years after that.
If someone had tickets for The Sound of Music, you're offering refunds, I assume?
We're doing all kinds of things. People can donate their tickets if they wish. They can turn them into memberships. They can simply move them into next year. The reality is people might need that money right now to buy food. So refunds are an option as well. There's two different paths for ticket holders. There's one path if you had Sound of Music tickets, because we were using a different ticketing software. And everybody who had a ticket got an email on Friday with instructions on how to do that. If you had Tecumseh tickets, you can go on our website right now. There's a form to fill out and let us know what you want to do with your tickets. But we'll also be sending them an email out either later today or tomorrow with all their options.
Everyone thinking of new ways of doing business and how this has all changed. Innovations. I'm interested to see the things that stick.
It is interesting. As I was actually just thinking as we were sitting here that you and I are now using the same technology as the Stephen Colbert Show.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your time and assistance, and of course, everything that you do for the community and all of the folks at Tecumseh. Thumbs up for the way you're handling this issue, and we pray that we'll look forward to a fantastic 2021.
Indeed. Thank you, Dan. You've always been very supportive of us, and I hope that you and yours are well.